Welcome guys, I'm Gio here, hope you're having a great day, and in this video we'll talk about some observables in Angular. So let's look at our problem first before we think about the solution. Our example consists of two simple parts. First is our API service and second is some simple app component. Let's look at our API service first. Here we have some hard-coded list of users. And we have two methods there, one to add a new user into the list and another is to get this list, but we are returning this list as observable and we need this for our example. In real scenario we might have the call to HTTP service or some WebSocket or something, but the idea is that we want to work with observables. That's why we are returning this with of operator from RxJS. Now let's move to our component. Here we have the name, users observable, and then in this users observable we assign this call, get users call, and also we have a method for adding the user. We are using our add user method from our API. Now let's look at our template. Here we have it. We are using a two-way data binding on the name, and then we are binding this click event to add user method here, and then we are adding the user. So let's now look at this part, this users assignment. If we look at this users closely, it's not a simple array. It is observable that will emit arrays over time. And inside the template we are using the async pipe, and it's really convenient and it's a very common pattern, especially if you're using observables a lot. And also Angular HTTP client has observables interface, and it's really nice way to display your items or interact with APIs and templates with async pipe. So it's really nice to have. Now let's look at our example in the browser, and as you see it is working fine. We are displaying the list of our users because we are using users observable with async pipe, and it's fine. Now what's wrong there? There's not necessarily anything wrong about this code, but the thing is during the user interaction, as a page is loaded and the user is interacting with the page, some things might change and we might get the new information that this list might have been changed. We might not know exactly what changed, but we have this information. Maybe user has filled in some form that can cause change of this data. Maybe we have some WebSocket connection that gives us the notification whenever some things change. The point is that at some point in our application when it's running, we might want to refresh this observable. We might want to tell our API or our template that, okay, something is changed and we need to get the new data. So here I have a very simple example that demonstrates this situation. Let's say I type in some name and I'll click the add button and nothing's changed. Well, this is situations that I've described before. So in this case, when we click on add user, we know that the list has changed, but from this template perspective, this list remains the same. And this is the case where we want to kind of refresh our observable, so it will reflect the new data. I understand that this is a very simple example, but the different events or different notifications might change, the data that we have displayed here, and we might want to refresh that by getting these notifications or some events. So how can we achieve that? So we need some way to refresh this, this observable here. We need to tell this, okay, we know that users list is updated. Just go and fetch this new data, whatever is changed, so we can reflect this into our template. There are many ways that we can do this, but one of the ways that I've found helpful, especially when we're combining many different observables together, is to use behavior subject. And let me show you what I mean. So what is behavior subject? It's an interesting object. On one hand, it is observable and we can observe its values, and on the other hand, we can push the values into this behavior subject. Now let's go there, and yeah, if you look at this, we have logged it true because the initial value inside our behavior subject is true. Now let's try another example where we push some value into our subject. Now if we type in some name, click the add button, here again we have received false because we pushed the new value in our subject, and here because we were subscribed to it, it was logged in the console. Now how can we use this to make this users list refresh? Well, let me show you. So what's this? Well, since this is observable as well, behavior subject, we can use a pipe function. So we can change some operators here. And one of the operators is switch map, runs this logic, whatever is inside it, and it will return this observable that will be returned from this function. So here we have this refresh user, it has the values, and on every value change for refresh users, this call will be made, the get users. Now, because initially we have this value here, this initial value, initially it will be always called. So if we look at this and refresh the page, the list is displayed because we have initial value inside our subject and we are using this operator. We don't care what value is inside. We only care about that whenever refresh users change, whenever we push value inside this, the new call to get users will be made, and that's what's important. And here, when the add user happens, after add user, we can poke our refresh users, we can push a new value, doesn't matter what this value will be, true or false. I have taken true just for example, and this will cause the this expression here to call the get users again. So let's look at this. Refresh the page. Let's add Geo. Click button, and as you see, it has worked. On the template side, we haven't changed nothing. It is still users observable, but with this little trick here, we have changed our call. We have changed our call with behavior subject. Now this trick here can be used with multiple observables when they are chained together to achieve some output. And also this refresh users subject gives this ability to say, hey, something is changed, and let's refresh this. Let's refresh our users list. And we can do it from any part of our component. It doesn't have to be this click. It can be the event handler for WebSockets or any other way. So this gives us ability to refresh our users list without making much of changes, and it's very simple, and I personally use it a lot. That was the trick for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Click the like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends.